right, so here at the top left-hand corner of Shakuras Plateau, we have aTn.Socke. He is spawning as our blue Protoss player. He is down 1-0 to his opponent here in the top right-hand corner. That is TSL.Killer, and he is our red Protoss player.
Yeah, and we have them both spawning on Shakuras Plateau here, which is probably one of the maps in Protoss versus Protoss where you can get that expansion somewhat safely. It's still very difficult to hold, but the one thing that really works out well for Protoss players on this map is if we take a look at the natural, we can see that that ramp leading down to the middle of the map can be force fielded off, and that's the one thing that Protoss players can do. They can use force fields to keep the opposing Protoss at bay, at least until Blink comes into play. So
or Colossi work really well there as well.
Colossi also work very well. We've seen that before too, yes?
Yep.
So
who was it that was playing that we were casting that did, they ran up with the Charge Light Archon straight into the, was that during Team Arena yesterday? It may have been.
It might have been Team Arena.
I'm trying to think.
It was Fnatic versus Dignitas.
Yeah, it wasn't it?
Bling?
Or was it the Bishu game? I don't remember. Anyway,
yes.
So yeah, I mean, we've seen
Nighten was
times
definitely in that
when,
game.
Yeah, I think it was probably Nighten versus Bishu. But anyway, so when people just try to run up into Colossi and they're able to sit around the perimeter here out of the range of basically any unit except for additional Colossi, and they can just pick units off with splash damage at the choke. Really, really powerful.
Yeah. So I think this is a map where Socke, if he decides to go for that expansion style, which he did in the last game, it may work out a little bit better on this map, as long as he's got that backed up with either Sentries or Colossus. Take your pick. You can actually stay on one base fairly easily and tech up as well with a single force field covering your ramp to your natural as well. So this map really lends itself to defensive Protoss play, but the whole matchup of PvP is still very offensively oriented. So if anything, I'm still expecting to see possible 4 gates here. Early PvP action to end the game right away is quite possible as well, and we'll just have to strap our belts and see what happens.
And we actually have identical builds, at least in the early game, to what we saw last time. Socke produced an additional probe that put him a little bit slower on his gas, and look at this. Killer actually taking the gas from Socke. That's actually a good move. I don't know if he was able to read that Socke had more probes than he did, but if he did, this is going to force Socke into a little bit more offensive play, or a very, very strong 4 gates behind a couple of zealots or something like that, and it's going to give Killer a little bit more flexibility to play defensive expand style.
Yeah, well, I like stealing the gas. It kind of just forces a Protoss, or forces your opponent in general, if you're stealing the gas, into a route that you know you won't have to deal with high-tech gas units. So you know that Blink Stalkers aren't going to come out readily with that one gas being stolen. And look, he's even, not only has he stolen the extractor, or the geyser, he even mined some gas of this. That's permanently stolen. That's not 3,000 gas worth of assimilator energy. That is 2,996, so that's a big difference. And huge difference.
Massive, game-changing. It was actually kind of cute, though. I love the little probe making his way back with his little gas surprise. But that assimilator is going to fall. That 900 HP assimilator, which I've always wondered about. Pain User and I had a lengthy discussion about that at one point. Why would you give a gas structure so much freaking HP? But nonetheless, 3 gates up for Killer at the moment, and he has a pylon buried in the top right-hand corner if he decides he wants to hide some tech or something along those lines.
And it does look like we have a Twilight Council being built up for Killer, and it looks like he just built it kind of on the northern edge of his base. So he is going to be going for, there's a Twilight Council, so he is going to be going for most likely Blink. I don't think he's going to go for DTs, but anything can happen in Protoss versus Protoss. And as far as Socke goes, he is going to gear up for an expansion, and I like it on this map. It is possible to do, but he's got to make sure he's got sentries to help hold his ramp off.
Yeah, I think he will. I think he's going to be fine in that regard, especially because it looks like Killer is going for the less attack-oriented Blink Stalker build. He's not going to have a Robo with Observer right away.
Oh, it is Dark Templar.
He's actually going right into DTs. That is a little bit surprising, especially because he showed a high gas unit sentry and had to delay those DTs for a while. So now this is really going to come down to, can Socke get any detection out? Otherwise, DTs are going to be able to wreck his day.
Yeah, well, he does have a forge coming up, so a cannon is possible, but you know, I don't know if it's going to be quick enough to defend against a Dark Templar rush. That Dark Shrine is going to come in within the minute, and we do have Socke now pushing out with his forces, so both armies are going to collide in the middle of the map here, and it looks like Socke may have enough to bust through Killer, almost picking off a Stalker right there. Killer pulls back just in the nick of time, and Killer will fall back and play that defender's advantage at his natural, while he waits for the Dark Templar to come out.
Yeah, and Killer actually kind of lucked out because his next Warpin is going to come almost exactly when the Dark Shrine is finished, so it's not really affecting his Warpins or anything like that. But we have a photon cannon coming up, and that is immediately going to end the DT threat out of Killer, and that actually gives Socke, now granted he can use it in army composition, he can try and slip one by, he can neutralize the photon cannon, he can still make them work, he can still use them just in composition for Archons if he wants to, because he already has the Twilight Council left for charge lots. But the point is that he wanted to do early damage with this, and that early damage is going to be neutralized by Socke, and this Nexus is going to start paying dividends very, very soon.
Yeah, and Socke is going to be in a great position this game. Has an additional Nexus right now. Should be able to deflect these two DTs pretty easily. I would not be surprised to see Killer just GG. I don't know if he's going to give up that easily, but man, that's a huge shutdown right now. And what is Killer going to do about this situation? A second cannon coming up for Socke now, realizing, hey, there's Dark Templar in the field. Maybe I should get a second cannon up just in case, just to play it safe. And Socke now is going to have a booming economy over Killer. Killer is going to have to figure out a way to catch up.
Yeah, certainly he could go right into that Colossi stage as well. It looks like Killer is going to try and expand out of this. That's fine. I mean, that's
really one of the only options he's got.
Yeah, that's what you got to do. But the problem is he's already 5 workers behind, and for the next 100 seconds, Socke is going to be double producing workers, establishing robo technology, have mobile detectors on the field, and go up to Colossi way faster than Killer can.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Killer double expand to get out of this situation. That's a possible.
That's super rough to pull
off.
That's
so I know it's really hard to pull off, but he's really far behind right now, and he's gonna have to figure something out. I mean, maybe Killer's macro is better than Socke's, but Socke has some incredible macro, and I don't see him fall behind too often, so we'll just have to see what Killer does. I would not be surprised to see both of them tech right into Colossus play here, because for once we actually have a PvP that is approaching the mid game with both players on 2 bases, and Colossus are very important in that regard.
Robo is up, but Socke also added a Twilight Council. He's going right into Blink Stalker, so he's just going to do aggressive gateway-based Blink Stalker play with mobile detection. That's very cute. I like this. Killer is going close to the same route for the moment. He's not utilized his Twilight Council for anything other than the DT Shrine at the moment. Observer about to make his way across the map. So Socke is still in a pretty significantly good position. I mean, he's up by 8 workers now. That next base is finally done for Killer, but it has already paid its weight in gold for Socke as he's pulled a 20 supply advantage.
Yeah, Socke has a huge advantage in this game right now.
And he has 1-1. That's actually really big.
Yeah, that's huge. It's not going to be easy for Killer to get back in this game, but he's still sticking it in there to try. Socke now getting into Templar Archive mode, so he's going to have high temps to morph into Archons, no doubt, or just to have it for Storm technology. But both players aren't really doing anything at this point. They're just sitting back on their 2 bases. Socke knows he's ahead, and Killer knows he's behind. That's the difference in both players' mindsets. So what is Killer going to do to even out the odds of this game? It's completely flying by my head right now because I don't see him doing anything extraordinary at all.
Colossi is a good move. I'm a little surprised that Socke decided to go for the Charge Lot Archon route despite being significantly ahead. I think he could have teched pretty comfortably, but he is going to go for 9-gate Charge Lot Archon off of 2 base. Now that is going to occupy all of his economy, so we're not going to see, or it's going to be very unlikely that we'll see further upgrades out of the Forge. He's just going to sit back on the Charge Lot Archon and then just warp in as many Templars as he can and make a huge push here in a bit. But my god, that is extremely aggressive off of 2 base, but I think he's far enough ahead that he can make it work.
Well, he just wants to hammer out that win, I suppose. But he's going to have to try to do it before Killer gets a significant number of Colossus up, because we have the first Colossus and range on the way, and that's a huge upgrade for the Colossus, especially at this point in the game. If Killer can get 2 or 3 Colossus and just hold that natural down, then those charged out Archons are going to have to be funneled through that little choke, and they're going to have a hard time busting through.
That's what the Blink Stalkers are for. Even if there's 1 or 2 Colossi here, he'll lead with Charge Light Archon, keep his Stalkers around the side, and then just blink up and pick off those Colossi from the back while he runs forward with Charge Light Archon. So Socke is actually extremely well prepared for a small number of Colossi. He's not prepared for mass Colossi, but I think he realizes, and quite rightly so, that Killer is in no danger of having out a huge number of Colossi before he attacks with this very, very large force.
And here comes a Charge Light Archon. We'll see if your prediction is correct on the Stalkers blinking in to snipe the Colossus out. There are, I think, there's one Colossus on the field. That DT scouting and goes down. So yeah, there's only 1 Colossus right now. Pretty risky situation for Killer. Killer trying to throw up a gateway at the front to try to wall off the front here, but that's not going to be in time. And here comes that engage. The Stalkers are blinking forward, but the Colossus is safely in the back. He could actually pull away, and he's going to do just that. But I think there may be too many forces here for Socke. Socke is going to bust right on through, and he does snipe that Colossus down. So many Archons and Stalkers and Charge Lots, and Killer is in trouble. I think Killer is going to have to GG at a game 2.
Yeah, I think that's going to come pretty quick, as now Socke is going to start doing economic damage. Just 1 Colossi trying to tear away at these units, and it's not going to be enough. There's a blink onto the high ground, and that Colossus is going to go down momentarily, trying to kite away, but it is going to fall. And looks like production now being camped, and that's it. GG out of Killer.